World War II saw a widespread use of floatplanes by all major participants. Most of those nations used them in a limited number of roles, such as maritime reconnaissance, search and rescue, or anti-submarine warfare. But one nation went one step further and developed floatplane fighters. Japan planned to deploy their forces to the Pacific region, including many small islands and atolls, where building airfields would be impossible or impractical. Yet, these outposts would still require fighter cover, and floatplane fighters seemed like a good solution. In September 1940, the Navy Air Headquarters issued a specification for such a fighter, and the contract was given to Kawanishi Company, which started to develop their N1K1 model. But the prototype took such long time to build that an interim solution was found in adaptation of an existing fighter. The chosen type was Mitsubishi A6M2-N Rufe, which had recently been used in China with great success. The job of converting the Zero to a floatplane was subcontracted to Nakajima Company. The resulting aircraft was designated A6M2-N, and the biggest difference from the standard Zero was replacement of landing gear with floats. Americans would give this fighter a separate reporting name, Rufe. As expected, floats reduced the top speed from 510 km per hour to about 440, but the famous maneuverability of the Zero reportedly didn't suffer. Interestingly, the first prototype made its maiden flight on 8 December 1941. In Hawaii, it was still 7 December, the date of the famous attack on Pearl Harbor. As the Rufe was considered an interim solution until N1K1 became available, only 12 examples per month were being built initially. Out of the first batch produced in April 1942, 6 were sent to the Aleutians and 6 to the Solomons. Aleutians are an island chain in the North Pacific, mostly belonging to the United States. The Aleutian Campaign was one of those lesser-known aspects of World War II. Although a part of the Pacific theater, the conditions were unlike anywhere else. In early June 1942, Japan sent a landing force supported by 2 aircraft carriers which occupied 2 of the Aleutian Islands, Attu and Kiska. Taking American territory must have been a morale boost for the Japanese after the major defeat at Midway. Americans didn't have enough strength to kick the Japanese out immediately, but they could harass them with airstrikes, so the Japanese forces were given a number of floatplanes, including the already mentioned 6 Rufes from 442 Kokutai, or Naval Air Group. There were also some observation seaplanes and 4-engine Kawanishi H-6K4 Mavis flying boats. On the other side, in June 1942, American forces in Alaska included 95 fighters and 46 bombers. The fighter component comprised of P-39 Airacobras and P-40 Warhawks, while the first P-38 Lightnings began to arrive during that month. The bomber component was quite modern, and it consisted of B-17s, B-24s, B-25s and B-26s. There were also 20 US Navy PBY Catalinas. The first American raids on Japanese positions on Kiska and Attu were flown by unescorted bombers, B-17s and B-24s. The attacks were inconclusive and often cancelled because of bad weather, but initially they were unopposed by the Japanese. The first contact between the Rufe pilots with an American airplane took place on June 25th. A PBY Catalina flown by Lieutenant Jack Litzy of VP-41 was flying a photo recon mission over Kiska. Japanese floatplanes damaged the American PBY, and 1 crew member was killed before Litzy could maneuver his airplane out of danger. On July the 5th, two Rufes attacked a lone B-24. Despite their determined attacks, the American bomber managed to escape into the clouds and return to base. On July 17th, Americans sent a group of 3 B-17Es and 7 B-24s from Cape Field on Umnak Island to attack Japanese installations and shipping at Kiska. The American bombers were approaching at 15,000 feet when Japanese fighters attacked them. Some attacked B-24s and reported damaging one, but the liberators successfully defended themselves and turned back to base. One American report says that all of them had at least some damage from Japanese fighter attacks. The Rufe pilots then concentrated on the B-17 lead aircraft flown by Major Jack Marks. One of the bomber's engines caught fire and he was last seen in a dive, about 30 miles from Kiska, with enemy fighters following it. The B-17 crashed into the water and the entire crew was lost. This was the first victory for the Japanese floatplane in the campaign. But several days later, American bombers fought back. Rufes attacked 3 B-24s. American gunners reported shooting down one of the Japanese floatplanes. American bombing raids continued through July and August, although with little actual damage. But the Japanese were now more determined to defend their positions and decided not to evacuate the islands as originally planned. It was an effective way to tie down significant enemy forces with a small quantity of their own. On 13 September, one B-24 escorted by 2 P-38s arrived over Kiska. Their task was anti-submarine sweep and intelligence collection for a mission planned the next day. One of the Lightning pilots, Lieutenant Herbert Hasenfuss, attempted to strafe a small ship outside the harbor. But as he was getting ready, 2 Rufes came at him head-on. Before he could get his speed up, the lead Japanese pilot knocked out one of his engines and the hydraulic system. Hasenfuss escaped into the overcast and flew back to base. There, he barely landed in front of John Huston's cameraman, who recorded the landing for a scene in Report from the Aleutians documentary. Lieutenant Hasenfuss was uninjured. The other P-38 pilot, Lieutenant Frederick McCoy, engaged in a head-on with the Rufe and was able to fire a burst into its belly. He claimed the kill, which was confirmed by the B-24 crew. According to Japanese reports, both pilots, however, returned to base, reporting a probable kill of a P-38. The next day, 14 September, saw the first large American airstrike on the Japanese base. 12 B-24 bombers and a single B-17 camera plane launched from Adak Island at 7 a.m. They were escorted by 14 P-38s led by Colonel Phineas Morrill, and the same number of P-39s led by Lieutenant Colonel Charles McCorkle. Apart from escorting the bombers, the fighters also had other roles. P-39s were to attack anti-aircraft defenses on the south side of the harbor, while P-38s were suppressing those on the north side. Unlike previous raids, the bombers would approach at low level. Colonel McCorkle with his P-39s went in first at about 9:25. They strafed the Japanese gun positions and then headed north towards the main base. The Japanese were surprised by the American attack, and the alarm was sounded rather late. 4 Rufes took off to face the American formations. They were attacked by the Era Cobras as they were climbing. Two of them were quickly shot down by Lieutenant Gene Oth and his wingman Winthell Matthews. The other two, flown by Yoshiichi Sasaki and Minoru Minazawa, managed to evade the attacks, thanks to the maneuverability of their fighters, and eventually shot back. The P-38s attacked the Japanese ground positions to the north, and then joined the fight against the remaining Rufes. The Japanese pilots claimed heavily. Sasaki reported shooting down no less than 3 P-38s and 1 P-39. Minazawa claimed 1 P-38 with another possibly downed. American reports admit no losses to enemy fighters. They do, however, show that 2 Lightnings from the 54th Fighter Squadron were lost when they collided while chasing one of the Rufes. Major Thomas W. Jackson, the squadron commander, and Lieutenant Dewey Crowe were both killed. Sasaki's plane was damaged, and he made an emergency landing on water. His airplane flipped, but he was rescued. Lightning pilots claim 3 Japanese float planes shot down, but these reports can't be substantiated with Japanese records. The bombing was quite devastating for the Japanese. With the newly constructed airfield at Adak Island, more missions could be flown with heavier bomb loads, and the Japanese base was now in range of American single-engine fighters. This was a real turning point in the Aleutian Campaign. This was part 1 of our video about A6M2-N Rufe in the Aleutian Campaign. Don't miss the second one when it comes out. Join our Patreon supporters, donate on PayPal, and keep watching Showtime 112.